Hi everybody, Jo here again. Thanks so much for popping in. So nice to come in and spend a bit of time with you at the beginning of another week. So I hope you had a lovely weekend. As you know, on a Monday, I'm doing a design in my new calendar, the Lavinia Calendar, ready for 2026. And we're going through the months. I mean, you might want to start with a particular month. And if that's the way you're going to work, just have fun, you do that. I'm going to actually go through just starting with January and working my way through. And each design, I'm taking inspiration from, and if I just show at the bottom of each page, if you haven't seen the calendars, Tracy's put a little design printed. Now, you can either use this as part of your inspiration or not. Again, totally up to you. You've got so much freedom here. But I like to, but that's just me. And also, I've been asked recently for ideas for new home cards. So I thought I could actually cover both with this little catch-up. And what I tend to do is practice my design first on a piece of multifarious card. And the reason I'm umming is I was trying to remember, I think this is 7.5 by 5. 7.5 it is by 5. But my memory these days. And two reasons I do this. One, it gives me an idea how it will look. And I've got a design here ready to go on a card blank. I mean, I could even trim this down, put it on a square card, but also I worry. Recently I've been dropping things. And if I was to stamp this wrong, I don't want to ruin my whole calendar. And I know a few of you have messaged and said the same thing, but to my mind, if anything goes wrong today when we're doing this video, I am just going to bippity boppity glue that on there, and we won't tell anyone. So that's why I work the way I do. So any of you that need a new home card, here's an idea. And I did think we've got numbers. So if you knew the number of the house, you could add the numbers. Little attention to detail, I think that makes all the difference. I tend to put a couple of pieces of copy paper under my calendar pages. I just find it works for me. And also, I like to cover this area because I tend to lean an ink up on this and it just protects that area. So I think we're ready to begin. And I'm going to start with one of my acetate circle masks. And I'm going to use the outy one so we can put ink on the inside, and I'm just going to put it roughly in the middle, and again it's just by eye, nicely under March. I'm thinking March, beginning of spring. A lot of people do move house at this time, don't they? Now the colours I'm coming in with is, I've got Mermaid and I've got Violet Chalk. Now as always, some of this might be off camera, but it's just because the calendar is quite large. So I'm hoping you can see what I'm doing. Now you could take this down. Me, I just like to hold it. Now as always, I'm just going to blend my link in the lid. And I'm going to start in this section here and just gently build up that ink. Now I like to put you in a bit of a trance at the beginning of these little catch-ups. So, just watch the stencil brush, round and round we go. I tend to leave a white area in the middle. I just think it helps the design pop. So we'll add a little bit more just in this section here, just so it almost gives a bit of depth. But also, I want to introduce a little bit of the violet chalk. And the reason for this is I'm going to do the stencil work in the background with the violet chalk, but I want to bring it in the design somewhere. So I'm just thinking the mix in this top left section here, and it will just give me nice tones. Again, I'm leaving that area white. So if I lift that off, can you see we've got a nice shape? And it's just with that white area in the middle, to me, is so important. It really helps the design pop. Now, I'm going to come in with the key stamp, and this is the larger one. We've got two. And I'm going to use the Versafine Clair, and I've gone for the black. So we're just stamping in black today. That's the Nocturne. Now, I decided on the taller of the cottages, we've got 2 in this set, and what I worked out was that if I stamp the key, if I bring it down to almost the lowest part where I can get all of the key in that circle, I would have enough height to stamp my cottage. So we shall see. That's what I worked out, and that's what worked out when I was playing, but you know what it's like. You see, I've slightly gone over there, but you know what? It is what it is. That's because when I'm recording, I can't put my head over the top. Obviously, because my iPad's at the top recording. And that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm going to stamp the cottage. And again, I'm just going to see if I can get the cottage just on top there. And again, let that ink soak in. Don't be too quick to lift up. There we go. Do you know what? I'm just going to add a little bit of blue ink there. Let me just get... I'm going to block that because it's a slow drying ink and I don't want to smudge it. But what I'm thinking, it looks more obvious because there's the white there. So if I get a small stencil brush and just bring in a little bit of that blue ink, I think that won't be as noticeable. I like that. Now, when I stamped this, I just thought there's something missing here and I wasn't sure what. And I decided to add some foliage, and I've gone for this lovely little stamp off the Wild Foliage set. And I'm going to use Shady Lane and Verdant. So I'm going to start with the Shady Lane first. Now, with this, my suggestion is don't overdo the stamping. So we'll have one there. And then I'm thinking one coming down here. And what's lovely about this little stamp, you can really build up the design. And I don't want this to be too symmetrical. So what I'm thinking is I'll put a second one there. And then I'll stop there with the darker colour, the Shady Lady. But we'll come in now. Just going to give my stamp a bit of a wipe. And I'm going to come in with the Verdant. So this is the lighter green. If you didn't have a lighter green, you could always use second generation. And I'm just going to add a little bit more foliage look to that side. But this stamp's lovely because you can stamp it almost growing either way. And I like that. Now, I think if we just pop one just on the edge there. Now, one more on this side, and then I really don't want to overcook it. Yeah, I like that shape and the little bit in the middle. But if you're new, I mean, especially new house, you have nice foliage, don't you? Nice plants. So again, we'll give that a blot because we don't want to smudge it. And then we can add that lovely stencil work. Now, it might be you want a lot of white space on your calendar page. I just think it's almost too white. Does that make sense? So what I'm going to do, I looked through my stencils and I decided I'd go for the Feather Leaf. I love this one. But I don't want to go over this area. So I'm just going to put the innie of my acetate circle mask. And I'm going to come in with my violet chalk. So I might just have to move this way slightly. And I'm just going to, again, hold that in place. I do tend to hold things in place. And I'm always blending in the lid. And then just going to add a nice little bit of stencil work right up to the corner. And again, I tend to use circular motions depending on which stencil I'm using. Some stencils I like to brush in a certain shape depending on if they've got little bits that you can catch. But I would always just do a little bit of the stencil work and then lift up and have a look. Yes, you see, the colour soon builds up. Now I just want a little bit more at the top, a little bit more down this side. And then I'm going to come straight to the ink pad. I want this corner a little bit darker. And then just blend that. Let's have a look. Yep, happy with that. I like that shape. So what I'm going to do is do the same this way. Now I can move this for the minute. Hold that still in place. And then pop the stencil this way. And I'm just going to take it over into the days a little bit. So again, round here, just circular motions to start off with. And a nice light, we're just holding it, we're just tickling through the stencil to start with. And then we'll build up that colour. So we'll have a look at that. Oh, you see, that's building up lovely. Now I just want a little bit more in this area. Important not to go over that edge, you don't want that line. Let's have a look. Yes, so I just need it now darker down here. So I'm coming straight in. Now mine's a well-used ink pad, so I know I can come straight in when I want that darker colour. Tiny bit more here. I'm just being a bit firmer because I want it darker. Yes. So if I lift these and this, I will spritz and add that to my journal. And that will give me a lovely backing design ready then to stamp up later. It's always good to do that, isn't it? So can you see? I know the colours don't show up that well, but I like the way that that now falls down here and almost towards, if you wanted, you could even add a little bit more directly towards the houses. And in fact, while I've got the purple on the brush, if I just add a little bit of purple here, again, I'm just using the violet chalk that's on the brush, and that will just give that, you probably won't pick it up very much, but that there's a little bit of violet chalk there to bring that continuity in. So I want to put that back just to protect that area because the house is just looking a bit wishy-washy at the minute, isn't it? So I'm going to add some colour and I'm coming in with my lovely colouring pencils, the Mondeluz colouring pencils. And I know you're going to ask what colours, and I haven't got them in order, I'm afraid. So let's have a look. We've got 28, 170, 22, 16, 132, 178 and 179. And I'm just going to start off with the roof. And again, I've got some extra kitchen roll here, look, to lean on. Now, you can colour these however you like. Again, as I say, if it's a certain type of house, mine's going to have a bit of thatch on it. I mean, it might be you want to do a design that reminds you of your house or turn it into a gingerbread house. There are so many things you can do. I'm just going to add a little bit of this lovely, it's sort of a yellowy brown just onto the key. And then we'll just give the windows a little bit of, and again, it's all about, I want to add some colour, but I want it to sort of blend so it matches well. So for the main part of the house, I'm going to come in with a light blue, almost to match the mermaid. If you add too many different colours, it can almost look, I always say a pizza, but you know what I mean. Sometimes if you do a design, you could do the same design, but maybe one you add too many colours and you think, oh, it doesn't look as nice as the other. Why? It's not as classy. It doesn't look as good a cohesive design. And that's where bringing the colours together helps. So I'm just going to add a little bit of darker purple, just where we would have shadow. So I'm going to do my wink of colouring to bring it all together. So the roof up here, look, I'm going to add some green. And this lovely light green reminds me of the Verdant look. So when I was looking through my pencils, I thought that one. And that will just tie those colours together. And then to bring the purple in, I'm just going to add the little bricks above and below the windows. We'll add with the purple. And I love how those colours look nice together, but I want something to pop. So I've gone for my red. And I thought, you know what, we'll have a lovely red door. And that will just really stand out and pop. So again, I'm just using my lovely pencils. And then what I'll do is pop those down and come in with my clear Wink of Stella, and we'll do a little bit of winker colouring. So we'll do the windows first, again, starting with the lighter colours and that little bit on the roof. And on the key, and this will just add that lovely sparkle when it dries. Then I can come straight into the green, just clean the green off the nib, and then we'll go into the blue, and I'll start in the middle where we've just got the blue, and it just helps, it makes my colouring, just means I can do a bit speedier colouring. And then look, if I come into that purple, it just blends that purple out, but also I think those shadows stand out more. And we can just blend that purple into the design. And then clean that off my brush. And then finally I'll come in with the red. And that red really will pop on that door. Clean the red off my brush. Always clean my brush and then it's ready for next time. And if I just lift that up, now you won't be able to see the sparkle because as it dries, it will sparkle more. But I think the colours, it really deepens the colours and makes them pop. So a couple of little finishing tricks. And we've got our usual suspects. So first of all, the lovely, I love these metallic, the Signo pens. You know I use them a lot. And I just want to add a little bit of metallic to this lovely key. Now again, the key's great for men's cards. Again, we get asked time and time again, what can we use for men's cards? Oh, the little doorknob, look, we'll use the metallic. But the metallic is perfect for men's cards. And the key, again, it works really well. You could add the cogs, you could add the fob watch. Some little highlights. When my pen decides to work, there we go. One there, just a little bit down this side, a little bit down the door, maybe a little bit on the key. Again, I don't want to overcook it with the highlights. Just a little bit on the chimney and a little bit down this side of the roof. Maybe just a little bit there. And then some yellow Posca. Now, if you don't like your Posca splats, if you want to leave this like this, by all means do. I mean, it might be you want to add some bells. They would look beautiful just hanging down from there. I can't decide whether to do that or not. Some birds, you could add some birds. The music notes, so depending on who you're sending this to, you will know if you're making it as a new home card or if you're making it as a calendar to somebody, you will know. If you just wanted the splats in the middle, you could put the mask back on. I'm going to put mine right across. So I'm going to start with mine around the foliage, and I'm holding my pen quite close and tapping this part here. So I'm just going round the foliage, and then I'm just going to bring a few to follow that lovely stencil work. And the same up here, just to break up and add a little bit more interest into that stencil work. And I can take this paper off now. And then if I just move this up a little, I'm going to carry the splatters right on down to where the houses are. And if I just take this paper out, and I'm not sure if you can see, it won't show up very well, but the splatters are up here, look. And then follow this line down here and follow them all the way down to the bottom. And I love that diagonal shape. So the very last little thing, one of my sentiment stickers. I've already put one at the bottom. I've put my story. And we've got Live in Harmony. And I think that's a perfect one to go on this design. My biggest question is where to put it. Right, because we've got this one down here, look, it's difficult me showing you the whole thing in one go. I think it's got to go up here. I think here, yeah, it doesn't look right. So for me, I'm going to come here. Oh, that looks quite nice. I quite like it just. So straight and just pop in there. And then again, I think that brings the two parts of the design together. So, and Live in Harmony, perfect for a new home card. If I bring in the original, now you could add some glitter if you wanted here, some other florals. Again, there is so much you could do, and you could take this design, maybe some glossy accents on the windows. If you make a design, please pop it in our social media groups and tag me in just so that I can see what you're doing. I love seeing your calendar pages. Maybe you've gone for a different March. Maybe bunnies. I did think about bunnies, but I'm thinking, I think that could be next month. I think that could be April. Who knows? Anyway, thank you for spending time with me. I do hope you're doing okay, and I will pop back again tomorrow. Have a lovely evening. Take care. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.